the highest mountain in that area, and from that fort, just because you control that fort like Shivaji, you control the whole area under it, right? So essentially, targeted market development is trying to identify which are the key things, key areas where you can really do the best. And by doing the best there, you take over the market, and from there, you can go and tackle the next target. Anyway, so that's what we did with targeted market development company. With Selectica, I did something totally different. With Selectica, what I did was, because here, like I had, only big customers, a few hundred or a couple of thousand big customers, or the biggest customers of companies in the world were my target accounts. And where everybody else was going ahead and developing generalized solutions, I went for developing a customized solution on top of my product. And something that, when I walk into Hitachi or IBM or Aetna or General Electric, I was going in with a solution that felt like their solution. And so I'd always work for them. And I could do that because I built up a big team in India that would build all these customized solutions. So I did very customized, value-added marketing, and by doing that, I succeeded. With the third strategy, with Dino, YouTube was out there selling everything. All video streaming was free. This whole market for video streaming on PCs and smartphones and everything had become commodity. In fact, zero price. Because all of these big companies have got so much money that they're generating from some other business. Like, Google from search, Microsoft from Office, Apple from their devices, that they're essentially giving away my business for free. So how do you compete when your competition has made everything free? So essentially, it took me about 3 or 4 years to figure out how am I going to build a company in this video streaming business, till I found some Malayali people who were traveling abroad all the time, the Malayali diaspora. There's a lot of them out there who love to just watch Malayali TV channels. And so from that one customer, or one call that I got, I figured out that there's opportunity for niche marketing. And by doing niche marketing, I built up a business of 600 TV channels and so on. So you can see that there are different marketing strategies that you focus on and develop in order to go ahead and build your company around these markets. So let's go to the basics of marketing. So, in marketing, you're playing with 4 parameters. The 4 P's of marketing are product, pricing, place, which is where you sell it, how you sell it, and promotion, how you create the desire, etc. So let's kind of quickly go through what each of these things mean. Can somebody tell me that, what role does marketing have to play in, say, the selling of a smartphone? What do you think? What role does marketing play in from a product standpoint? Just product, not high pricing, sales or promotion, product. What role does marketing play in the product or for smartphone?
Market research at the inputs from the consumers, what kind of things they're looking for.
So feature set. Okay. Anything else that marketing does?
Pricing.
They figure out the market segment or the demography that can afford that product. So if it's a high-end product, it's going to be 5% of the customer base. If it's a mid-range product, it might be 30%. If it's a mass market, it will be 50% of features, the market segment, the pricing that they will target. What else do they do in the product area? So they also do things like ergonomics, right? They also do things like, how the product feels, ease of use, something that appeals to different people, whether it appeals to young people, whether it appeals to old people, whether the buttons are big, buttons are sleek, buttons are soft, whether it's got a plastic backing, whether it's got a steel backing, whether the glass is Gorilla Glass, whether the glass is plastic, whether the characters and the fonts are this type or that type. So there's a whole bunch of things that marketing decides about the product.
For example, in the middle of that, how many there are MP3 players in the market? How many companies make MP3 players? Yeah. Any idea? 10, 20, 50, 100. And what is the difference between iPod and the 20, 30, 50 that you can buy in the market? So what it is distinguishes this, is that right? So what has gone into the experience, research, product use, applications, range, to what? So that's really the role marketing plays in distinguishing yourself or your product. How really you build a different product is what we need to understand.
So the product, I think all of them can tell the difference between an iPod or an iPhone and all its competitors, right? You can tell the difference. Marketing played the key role in terms of creating the differentiated product by identifying, anticipating, and satisfying the customer requirements. And here in the product, there's a whole bunch of strategies that happen. You can decide to create a product that initially targets the high end. And then, once you win the high end, you know that everybody else would love to have the product with the high end as well. So you go and keep dropping the price of that product so that the mid-range market segment also starts using your product, and then you launch your next one, iPhone 7, for the high end. And then you bring it down. So basically, there are all kinds of business strategies that are layered on top of the product definition. Yeah.
Could you explain the difference between marketing and sales?
Absolutely. Yeah. So if you look at the very next slide, it tells you the very first statement. So thank you for anticipating. So if you guys can, you should get your hands on that marketing myopia. That one article written by Theodore Levitt in the late 60s is kind of a masterpiece. 5-page article which transformed the whole marketing business. And essentially he says that selling focuses on the need of the seller, and buying and marketing focuses on the needs of the buyer. Can somebody explain that to me? Yeah?
It is like we do marketing so that we get to know what buyer needs, and we tell them that our products can satisfy your this needs.
Yes.
So we satisfy the buyer through marketing, but as the needs of the buyer is satisfied, we also need to satisfy the needs of the producer, and that's what sales does. That sales gets enough price from the buyer, so as to complete the needs.
Excellent. So needs of the seller are, he needs a purchase order. He needs to have a high enough price that he can make a profit. He needs to get a big enough order. So the seller is trying to take care of the producer's needs. And the marketing, who's also working for the producer, is being very empathetic with the needs really needs us to drop the price by 10 or 20% in order that he can afford it. Or the buyer needs to get a monthly payment plan so that he can buy the product over 1 year. So the marketing department is the one that is continuously kind of got its thumb on the pulse of the market. So you hear this statement all the time, pulse of the market. So to have your finger on the pulse of the market is what allows you to go ahead and tell your own company what the needs of the buyer are. So that's the difference between seller and buyer. And basically, like Philip Faulkner, who is another guru, his message is differentiation. How do you differentiate your product so that it creates a certain brand and identity in the whole marketplace. All the potential buyers, there's a brand which automatically says iPhone high-end, iPod, something that is very easy to use or very slick, Samsung, cost-effective and still kind of good value. So basically, all of these things automatically come in your mind when you look at a particular branded product that has been created and stuck in your mind. Okay, so how did we go ahead and take a semiconductor product that we manufactured and make it successful in the marketplace? Which market did we target? How did we go about targeting the market? What were the different marketing activities that we did in terms of the product, in terms of the pricing, in terms of how we sold, and by how we created the brand awareness and everything else? What are the things that we did in order, we were just 4 guys sitting in a small 600 or 800 square foot office, and if you go to YouTube and search for Opti, OPTI, you will actually see that video that I took about 30 years ago when the company was only 4 engineers sitting, 3 engineers and myself, sitting in this small 600 square foot office where we designed our chip. And then, that same chip finally generated, millions and millions of dollars. And over time, from multiple generations, became a company that became, a very successful company. In fact, we leader in the industry. So we didn't have the money, we didn't have the technology, we did not have a fab, and our competition was every big semiconductor company. Intel Corporation was a competitor. Texas Instruments was a competitor. Chips and Technologies, we own 80% of the market, was a competitor. So all of these companies had hundreds and thousands of engineers. They had millions and millions of dollars in the bank. They had thousands of marketing people, sales people, everything. And we were 3 guys, 3 engineers and myself, doing marketing and sales, that decided to do a product that would tackle all these big companies. So, and in 5 years, from 0 sales, no customers, we became the world's largest chip company in this PC chipset business, shipping probably about 100 million devices to all the top PC manufacturers all over the world, and own 25% of the market. And then took the company public at $400 million. So how did we do it? It was all because of marketing. So essentially, I executed what I call is a global marketing strategy. So previously, all the component manufacturers, all the chip manufacturers, you'll see that are competing in this business were American. And American chip makers always find it comfortable to sell the product to American companies. It's just natural, So when we developed our chipset, we said, if I try to sell my product to a local American company, like Hewlett Packard, Dell, IBM, Compaq. You know, I'm going to face a lot of competition from all these big companies. So I said, you know, I might have the best product, because we did have the best product. I won't be able to break it. So I said, you know, how do I go ahead and at least win one market where, you know, I can really own the market. So I decided that I would not sell a single chip and spend a single dollar in sales, promotion, whatever, to all the big companies in the US right now. So I said I'll just target, you know, that fourth that we talked about, rather than, you know, targeting the biggest market, target a fourth, which is sitting out in Vidarbha or somewhere, where, you know, the Mughal, you know, Aurangzeb and the Mughal emperors are not targeting. You target a small fort there and win that fort, and win all, control that whole region around there. So similarly, you know, we decided to target the Far East manufacturers with the product. And when I went to sell the product to the Far East manufacturers, they said, you know, is IBM using it? Is HP using it? You know, only then we will use it. And I said that, you know, if you wait for IBM and HP and others to use it, you're going to be 6 months behind them. If you're 6 months behind them, you know, you cannot build a faster product than IBM. Because IBM has been using it, building a PC for that for 6 months. You cannot build a cheaper product. You cannot build something which is very cheap. So basically, I told them that I would give them a time to market advantage with my chips. And by giving them a time to market advantage, they will have a time to market advantage when they went to sell their PCs in US and Europe and so on. So, you know, initially they were very skeptical, but, you know, I educated them. I said, look, I worked at Intel for 7 years. I know the whole business. I got my credibility taken care of. And so I launched the product only in the Far East. And then what I did was I got endorsements. This is another thing that you do in marketing. You get references and endorsements, and I got 3 companies to endorse my product. So what is the benefit of endorsement? When you do endorsement, anybody?
If a big player tells others that
I'm using my product. So a small company can basically shine because of the reflected light. You know, it's like the moon shines because of the reflected light of the sun, right? Same way, small company can shine if big companies are willing to, you know, say that they're using your product. So what I did was I targeted 3 companies, and I built personal relationships with them, and I said, you know, look, if you use my product, I'll give you some discount, I will, you know, give you some strategic advantage, or whatever, you know, maybe even a little bit of ownership of my company, you know, whatever it takes. I got 3 companies to endorse my product. And in Taiwan and Hong Kong and Singapore and, you know, there were hundreds of manufacturers who all knew these big companies. So I used the endorsement of the 3 motherboard manufacturers, bigger motherboard manufacturers, and then launched it in a press release that I faxed it to hundreds and hundreds of motherboard manufacturers. Automatically, everybody said, oh, Micron is using it, TMC is using it, and this other third large company, Acer, is using it, so must be a good product. And all of a sudden, you know, they stopped worrying whether the product was going to work, whether it was stable, whether it had bugs, whether the company had enough finances to service their needs. All those questions go down, and the risk assessment of your So essentially, the credibility that a small startup has to be overcome. The credibility issue and the risk associated with the company has to be overcome in many different ways. And one of the ways that you can do it is to get endorsements from bigger companies. And then what I did was I flooded the market. So what I did was we took our chipset, and instead of the motherboard manufacturer making motherboards, I made my own motherboard without any logo or anything. And then we had this show called the Comdex, which is the Computer Expo in Las Vegas, where hundreds and hundreds of computer manufacturers all over the world used to come. And that is where new products are launched by all the big companies and the mid-sized and small companies. So we knew that even the customers that we had not managed to reach, so we had got about 15, 20 customers to use our product, but there are hundreds of customers. So we made several hundred motherboards, and then the first day before the conference started, I walked from booth to booth and said, look, I've got this product, this motherboard, for the latest and greatest next generation product. And I've not put my logo on it, I've not put anybody's logo on it. So if you want, you can offer this product by just putting a sticker on this product. And just stick it on the motherboard and say that it's your product. And so essentially what ended up happening is that at that particular conference, we had over 100 customers and booths who had an Opti motherboard. And all of a sudden, whenever some PCB seller would go around trying to figure out, where is the fastest and the greatest, latest new motherboard available, they would see Opti. Opti-based motherboards at 100 different stalls. All of a sudden, the resellers got comfortable that Opti is something, and everybody's saying, who's this Opti? And we've never heard of Opti. They've all heard of Chips and Technologies, VLSI, TI, Intel, and suddenly this Opti is everywhere. And so all of a sudden, we became kind of the success at that particular show. And the first year we had zero sales because we were developing the product. The second year we had $25 million in sales with $19 million of profit. And we had not raised any, less than $1 million had been raised. And from there we just took off and off and off. So we went to $65 million in revenue the year after that, $100 million the year after that, and incredibly profitable. We had not raised any money, so all the co-founders were kind of just drowning in money. So it's crazy. This is crazy because we had 19 employees and $25 million in sales. It was just ridiculous. Anyway, so essentially, there's a whole bunch of marketing things that we did, which is what we are focusing on. How does a small company get credibility in the marketplace? How does a small company become a market leader all of a sudden? How does a small company reduce the risk profile of themselves with different companies? So, guess what? Every entrepreneur is going to face these questions. The questions that you're going to face when you come up with a new product, a new technology, is what if you go under? How much funding do you have? How many salespeople do you have? How many engineers do you have? What kind of customer support do you have? Who else is using your product? All of these questions are going to be thrown at you, and you are going to have to answer it. And if you don't answer it effectively, you can't get your company to take off. So you can see how through marketing, we knocked off one issue after the other. Risk issue, by using the referenceability of the different people that endorsed us, by flooding the market, all of a sudden the resellers particular case, we were doing a press release. So I got the president of 3 large Taiwan computer and motherboard manufacturers to say good things about the product. Where one guy said, you know, Opti has a product that is at the cutting edge of the marketplace. It is the fastest chipset in the business right now, which was true because it had the right benchmark. Then I got somebody else to say that, you know, the Opti team is a very experienced team because my 3 engineers had come from Chipset Technologies, which was the previous leader, the current leader in the chipset business, and that they had designed all the previous chips that and Technologies was selling, and their sales and marketing guy had 6 years of experience at Intel, which was, you know, the heart of the company. So we got the second endorsement was a quote from another president saying that the people behind this company are dependable and they've got a lot of expertise and so on. And then I got somebody else to say that, we are going to launch a major product line based on this because, we believe that this is going to be the next generation computers, which meant that I used that to build my credibility for being able to produce enough chips. So I kind of used the statements that were from 3 different presidents of 3 big companies to address worries that might be there in all the other people. And then I generated something called a press release. And then I took that press release and I put it in Taiwan newspapers. So all the Taiwan newspapers, published this press release. So now everybody in Taiwan saw this press release with the names of these 3 big presidents. Nobody knew my name or my co-founders' names, but they knew the names of the presidents of these other big companies. And so they published the press release. I got the fax numbers of hundreds of motherboard manufacturers and boom, faxed it out at the same time. So all of a sudden they say, oh, this guy said it, this guy said it. Oh, we better call up Opti and the phone is ringing off the hooks. Because everybody now wants to see who's this Opti, why, where did it come from? So basically you use endorsements in order to, be things that, cover up, solve the problems that a startup would have. Good question. Anybody?
So,
Yeah.
was this before that Vegas show or
Exactly.
before the Vegas show?
Yeah, at the launch of the product.
So in the Vegas show, you gave everyone a motherboard of
Yes.
that was all within like 1 or 2 days. Maybe you talked to them and you.
Yeah, before the show. That evening, we got there, 3 hours before the show. It starts the next morning at 9 a.m. But we went there by the afternoon of because that's the time when they're setting up their booths. So we went there and we just walked around from booth to booth and saying, hey, I've got this, it's faster than any other motherboard that you have in your booth. Don't you want to have something that's the fastest motherboard? Because guess what? Everybody else has got the world's fastest motherboard, which is this motherboard. So, so, it was crazy.